welcome back to my channel. My name is Mimi. In today's video, we're going to be going through time intelligence function. Many times at your workplace, they might ask you to compare the current year performance looking back at previous years. Well, this can be very painful to do without the time intelligence function. Stay tuned as we go through this in this video. The time intelligence function we're going to be treating today is called same period last year. For this example, we can see here in 2023 of January that the sale was 2 million. And if we notice here, the previous year's sale was 3.9 million. We notice that this is the same number here for January 2022, meaning that this is the 3.9 million sale that we made the previous year. And if we notice, it is the same thing for this $580,000, which matches the sales for February 2022, which is now the sales for previous year when we get to February 2023. And this column right here will just show us the percent change. For example, here in 2022, January, we made 3.9 million. But in 2023, January, we made only 2 million. So this caused us a decrease of 47%. So let's create this together in Excel. I'm going to go to the data. This is the data that we're going to be using. It has the order ID, the customer, the product, the quantity, and this is the sales amount. So let's load this into Power Query. I'm going to go to data. I'm going to go to table/range. I'm going to click OK. This is going to open up Power Query for us. So right here, we can notice that we have all the columns that we loaded. But if you notice here, the order date, the data type for this order date right now is a date time, meaning that there is time components here. I don't want to have this time component. Anytime you're dealing with time intelligence function, one thing you have to keep in mind is that your date has to be the same format as the date in your date table. We're going to be creating a date table very soon. So this has to be the exact same. They have to match. So right now, this is a date time. I'm going to change it to a date. I'm going to get rid of the time component. I'm going to say replace. And I'm just going to rename this to sales. And we're ready to load this. I'll click close and load to so that we can take us to Power Pivot. So I'm going to check this box right here and I'm going to click OK. This is loading the data right now. So we'll just give it a couple seconds. Now we have the data. What we need to do next is to go to Power Pivot. If I click Power Pivot, I'm going to go to Manage. This is going to open up Power Pivot for us. Now we can see all the data that we loaded right here. Okay, let's create a date table. I'm going to go here where it says design. I'm going to go to date table. Just click on new. And right now Excel is creating, if you see down here, it's creating the date table for us automatically. Now it's almost done. When it's done, you can, if I expand this right here, I'm going to see all the dates. Let me sort this descending so we can see all the dates that we have here. If you notice that this data is up to the last day of 2023. If you want to make this to go to the future, you can go to this date table and click update range, and you just use this calendar to choose whatever dates that you want. I'm going to click OK. Now, the dates, this is the important thing here. The date column is still, if I go to Home, Excel created this date column for us as a date, but the format is different. It has the time components, as we can see here. So we need to get rid of this time components. I'm going to click on the format right here. And we need to choose this one without the time component. And if we go back to our sales, I'm going to click it at the bottom left corner here. This order date, if you notice that if I enlarge this, see, it's still a date, but it has the time components based on the format. So I'm going to make it, I don't need the time component. And remember, for time intelligence function, your date column, which we saw earlier in this calendar table, it has to have the exact same data type and the format has to be the same as the other date column that you're going to match on. So that's why I have to use the same format. So now if I go to diagram view, I can see the two tables, the calendar dates which Excel created for us. Now we can match it on the order date. Order date is when somebody placed an order. That's what we are mostly interested in. So I'm going to create the relationship between date and order dates. Okay, now that the relationship has been set up, let's write a few measures. So I'm going to go back to data view, and here I'm going to shrink this a little bit so I have the space for measures. So the first measure that we need to write is a measure that can tell us the sum of the sales amount. Right here we can see all the sales amounts here, but we need to know the total. So I'm going to write here, just click anywhere in this box. Usually I like to start from the leftmost. So this one, start typing, let's say total sales. And remember, with Power Pivot in Excel, anytime you write a measure, you have to use a column and equals. Normally in Power BI, you just write the name of the measure equals. But for Excel, we have to put this column here. So what is the measure that we want to write? We want to sum. I'm going to click tab. We want to sum the sales amount. So I'm going to click sales, type sales amount right here. I'll click it, and then I'm going to close the parentheses. I'll click on enter. And now this is, we can see here, but we don't see it. So I'm going to expand this by dragging this. So this is the sales amount. We can format this to have the dollar or your currency. So I'm going to choose this first one right here. So this is going to be formatted for us nicely. Now that we have this measure right here, this will only tell us the current sales. If we want to see the sales last year or the previous year, then we will need to create a new measure. To do that, let's go to this bottom right here, and let's say sales previous year. Sales previous year. And we're going to do column equals. Now we're going to use a function called calculate. Calculate just, it helps us to do a calculation based on something that we're passing to it. So right now, if you notice that it's asking for the expression. For us, we already have the expression, which is just the total sales. So we're going to pass the total sales. Now, if I put a comma, it's asking me for the filter. What do you want me to use for this calculation? For us, we're going to say, okay, just do it only for the previous year. So to do that, or for the same period last year. So to do that, we're going to say same period last year, which is one of the time intelligence function. And now that I have that, all I have to pass into this is the date. And that's why we had to create a date table. For all the time intelligence function, you have to have a date table. And there cannot be gap in the date table. So I'm going to click this, and I'm going to close the parentheses for the same period last year function, and one more for calculate. I'm going to click enter, and I'm going to squish this so that we can see it. I'm also going to format it as dollar. And now lastly, before we go to pivot table, let's create that percent change, our growth measure. To do that, I'm just going to click here and say percent growth. Percent growth, and column equals. What do we want to do? We want to do a difference between those two, divide by previous year's sales, and that's going to give us the percentage. So to do that, let's do a divide. With divide, what is going to be our numerator? Our numerator is going to be that difference between the two. So we're going to say the current sale, which is total sales, minus the previous sale, which is sales previous year, right here. And that's the numerator. Now it's asking us for the denominator. The denominator is going to be the sales previous year. So sales previous year. And now the last argument right here just means if there's something wrong, if I cannot divide by 0 for some reason, I'm getting an error, what do you want me to put instead? For us, we're going to say put a 1. I'm going to close the parentheses and click enter. Now we know that this is going to be a percentage, so I'm going to format this. Instead of dollar, I'm going to use a percentage. Okay, so now we're ready to create our pivot table. I'm going to go back to Excel. Now let's go where it says insert. Let's insert pivot table. Now we can say from data model, because we already loaded our data into the data model. I'm going to click OK. Okay, so now we have all those fields. First, let's bring year and month so that we can see our year. Let's bring month. Okay, so we have all of them. So now let's go to all the measures that we've written. Let's bring the total sale first so we can see all the sales. Now let's bring sales previous year. And now let's bring the growth. Okay, we can see here that we do not have any data for our previous year. If we wanted to replace it with a 0 instead of saying a blank, because all our data only has from 2021, so there's no previous year for this. So if we don't want a blank, we can come here for previous year and just right click. Let's edit the measure real quick. Like instead of blank, let's just say plus 0. So now we'll see a 0 here, just so we can see everything. Okay, let's format this growth column right here so that we can see it with an icon. So to do that, I'm going to click on it like this. I'm going to go to Home, Conditional Formatting. I'm going to go to New Row. And right here, let's change this to icon sets. So icon set, and let's choose the icons that we want. So I'm going to use this arrows right here. And for us, we're going to be using number instead of this percentage. And we're going to say that when the value is greater than 0, then that means that we increase in sales. When the value is 0, that means it's the same. When the value is less than 0, that means we decrease. So I'm going to click OK. And if I expand this, we can see here, this one is all showing zeros because we do not have 2020 data. So there's no way to calculate previous year's sales. This one is showing 0 because we don't have any sales for this month. So if we come down here to 2022, the total sale is 3.9 million. And when we get to 2023, now the previous sales right here is showing the 3.9 million. And if you want, you can even see this at the date level. Let's say we're interested in January 1. We can drag this dates column and put it here. Now let's go to 2022. So we can see here that January 1, 2022, the sales that we made was 1.9 million. The previous year was 49,000, which is 2021. If I open that, we can see this 49,000. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you next time. Bye.